plans to address that, what measures we can do to help. How can we help you knock those scores up?
Yep. I think what you first need to keep in mind is that the test scores that you have this year are different. It's a different test than we had 2 years ago. And speaking to the superintendents across the IU, on average, their middle school SPP scores went down 20 points. We normally scored in the high 70s at our middle school for our school performance profile, and we're at 59. So I don't want to, just because we're an average doesn't make it good. Are we 55? Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a 20-point drop.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's not a middle school only problem though. Terry and I did some quick brainstorming, also talking with K2, with the high school and the middle school. And what it is, there's a number of factors at play in. First and foremost is that it's a brand new curriculum. We've gone to the PA core, and that's what's being tested. So it's going to take time for our kids to get through the PA core to have their scores aligned. We also have an inordinate amount of, we have more reading instruction going on K-8 than we have math instruction. At the elementary schools, it's at least 2 hours of language arts, and I believe it's 70 minutes of math. At the middle school, there's double blocks of language arts and single blocks of math. Obviously, the more that you instruct and the richer the instruction, the better we're going to be. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that our instruction, our standards are aligned, that our curriculum is aligned with the standards. Once we have that, we've got to check the scope and sequence to make sure that of those standards, which ones are being assessed. We also have to have a consistency K to 12, because right now our K2 teachers are saying we need a different type of resource. We need one that's going to impact our students' mathematical reasoning and not just mathematical computation. Because the PA core focuses on, and it's addition to, it's not replacing. I saw the face.
Yeah, I'm just looking up. That's why
I know, you're saying your prayers, I got you. But it's an addition to. So what happens then is once our students are immersed in math reasoning, then they have to use the mathematical computations, the math facts to solve the reasoning problems. We'll score better. And then we would also like to have what you can do as a board. We're going to be proposing a math supervisor K-12 position for this year. And what that person's going to do is ensure that the scope and sequence as our students move through the K-12 curriculum, everything's going to be aligned. He or she will be providing help to the teachers on the instructional side as well.
Yeah, just one basic question.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, is that what some districts would call a math coach?
Yes, they would. And then what we would have to decide, Jocelyn, is do we want it to be a coach or a supervisor? A supervisor has a little more teeth that they can evaluate the teachers, where the coach
So that's an administrator.
Yeah, pseudo administrator.
Okay.
The other question I would have is, do our textbooks align with core standards?
And that's correct. That's another question.
And I look at Nitchrower Elementary over in Manheim Township, and they're scoring in the 90s. I'd ask what texts are they using, and what steps are they taking that they're scoring so well?
I'll let Terry answer that because she said her emails have been flying fast and furious among the curriculum coordinators.
Yes, they have been sending out the emails. What's the elementary programs for math? Math programs is everyone using. So honestly, across the board, from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, they're about half of us, more than half, answered, and everybody doing something differently. 3 districts are using one program. We've got 5 districts using another program, 2 using another one doing one. So they're all different programs here.
And the results are not, if we could say which program is scoring the highest.
Well, which one is Manheim Township using in general? Because they have 3 or 4 schools that are in the top 10.
Township's using a program called My Math. Now, I wanna talk with, the person I always spoke with, Tim Williams, has now taken a superintendency position, so he's not there, so I think they're readjusting who's in that position now, but to speak with them to see what is My Math about, when did they adopt it, is it aligned with PA Core, or, you know, just what's with that program. Math Expressions is another one where 5 of our districts are using that, and they have all said they will not change it. It is aligned, the kids like it, the teachers like it, it's got a good home support in it as well for homework and that type of thing. So that's another program that I wanna look at. Our big thing is, again, it's not the textbook itself, but are we really teaching to the standards? And are we assessing kids on those standards? And what happens if they don't, you know, meet those standards or whatever? So pulling in some of that remediation time with the kids, and how can we, instead of just moving on, what are we going to do in that block of time, you know, to be able to support the kids that, you know, need that extra support?
Teachers are working on common assessments right now for this year, so that's gonna give us a better picture of where they are against the standards. You take the PSSA scores with a grain of salt. And not everyone takes them, you can opt out of them. You can also, you don't define a child by a test. And we have to make sure that we keep preaching that, because a majority of the students in the Commonwealth would be below proficient, like you're not a proficient kid. Well, we don't label a student that way. I look at the PSSA scores as more of, okay, what are we doing systemically, and how can we help our kids?
In a recent conversation with a 5th grade teacher, he told me that he was very concerned about the number of kids that are on the bottom, whereas previously 3, 4, 5 years ago, there were many more children at the top, and it seems like everything has shifted, and there are many more children that are remedial. So the remedial piece is the part that I am most concerned about. How do we bring the bottom up?
But you have to have the higher kids, Jack, also score, because they have to help to offset the children that are not proficient.
Again, you gotta keep in mind though, these are 2 separate tests. These are brand new tests. So it's comparing apples and oranges. Go ahead, Jocelyn.
Can I weigh in a second?
You bet.
So I understand that it's a brand new test, and every single district is going through what we're going through to some degree. But Dr. Z, our results are terribly low. 20% proficient in math is below what many of our peers are at. So Northern Lebanon and Lebanon have low scores like that, but the other districts in the county do not. And so, agreed, we shouldn't measure students on how they test, because some students don't test well. But this is a law of averages. And so I agree with Janelle, we have to focus on all of the students, because I think that this drive towards standardized tests kind of pushes the entire median down to the lowest common denominator, so you focus on the lowest students, so then the students that are already receiving advanced or proficient get lost in the shuffle, and then everybody just becomes average. So I agree that we need that bell curve piece, but by the same token, I think that what I'd really like to see us do is have a really comprehensive discussion with include teachers, include Mr. Simmons, who clearly is an expert in this field. And then I also know that the IE13 actually has roles that we can use as consultants to help us with solving these types of issues rather than trying to do it on our own. And so bring them in and have them help us walk through what's the right textbook, the right, how do we align to the core to the best of our ability. So we're not just doing what we have to do to get by, we're becoming a leader. And that's where I'd love to see us focus our energy, as opposed to saying, well, some kids don't test well. Well, that's true in all districts, not just ELCO.
Right. And Jocelyn, this is Terry. I have been, at our curriculum coordinators, we do talk about using EIU and what services they can provide for us. So this was already even sort of in place prior to scores and everything coming out, because math is our focus for in our curriculum cycle. It's the one where we kind of study and research, which end up ironically to be, this time in the cycle. But using the IU to come in to do professional development, but at K2, really working on that basic number sense. How can we put in there a higher depth of knowledge, questioning to our kids, having them think through the questions? Yes, computation is one thing, but if the thing is, they have to be able to understand what's being asked of them, the higher level thinking, and when they process through what they need to do, then they need to get the computation correct. Does that make sense? So,
Yes, it does.
Yeah, okay, very simple. 5 birds here, 3 come in. How many are there? Well, if the kid puts 7, he's getting it wrong on the PSSA. Even if he can say, well, I had to add this 5 plus this 3, and I got 7, that answer is still wrong because he did the computation wrong. He knew how to do it, but computation was wrong. So we're working on like that type of thing and bringing in the IU to work with hands-on manipulatives with the kids, because math is so abstract. It's be making it more concrete for them. Also working with the secondary end, 6 through 12, or 6 to 8 especially, bringing someone in that can really help us hone in on looking at our curriculum, what are we doing, what's best practices out there, for providing math instruction for our kids as well. So all of those things are kind of in process with emails, to try to get people lined up for these. The other thing that I wanted to say too.
And so I think we should put some of that in our agenda for our curriculum committee meetings, because this is the core of what we do, right? And so in my mind, balancing the budget and making sure we have a robust curriculum to meet our students' needs are the 2 fundamental jobs of the school board. So I feel like we should put a lot of emphasis on this, include us in those discussions, include us in those decisions, whether it be selection of a curriculum or a textbook, which is definitely part of our role.
Right.
But also discussion if we should be extending the length of instruction. I do know that most, to Dr. Z's point early in the conversation, we're spending double the amount of time in our reading. Well, that's great. Maybe we should spend more time in math and maybe a little bit less in something else. I don't know where we could cut from, but what options are there, and how do other districts, or how would the IU see the best practice of how to handle this?
Well, and with that said, I actually have, it's first elementary and then secondary, and I don't remember the dates. I want to say in November, maybe January. We're going to the IU to talk to a scheduling guru, I guess you want to call him, Dr. Fleming. He is like the head person for how to take an elementary schedule based upon your resources available and how to make the most or best use of the time, the kids' time, during the day, so that the top priorities are